Well, joining us now on the Coach's Corner is Sara Hansen, our head coach of cheer and dance for Emory and Henry College. Sara, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
All right, so there's so much that goes into cheer and dance. I mean, first of all, those are two different programs themselves, of course. You also have the competitive side, you have the game day experience side. So let's start on the game day side. And for those that have never been on the sidelines, you know, the cheer and dance teams are on the sidelines for football games, of course, also at basketball games. What's that experience like for you and for the team?
Well, during our practices, we do a lot of preparation so that when it comes to actually being on the sidelines, I don't necessarily have to direct their every move. Thankfully, a lot of them have been coached very well during high school, and so they kind of already know, like, this is how football game day goes. This is how basketball game day goes. So a lot of it is teaching them the cheers, the chants for the dance team, the band dances, and then telling them or helping guide and direct them to timeouts or when we get a touchdown or when we make a free throw or a 2 point shot, like what are we going to do? Because a lot of times we do specific special things. Um, during basketball, during free throws, they have their arms up, and if they make it, then they do a specific cheer. Or during football, when they get a timeout, one new thing that we started this year is I have three people, not only when they run the flag out at the beginning of the game, but when we get a touchdown, I ask them to run the end zone for that as kind of like a celebration. And then, of course, they do the fight song. So it's teaching them those things and preparing them for that ahead of time. And then, of course, um, being on the sidelines is like when you're in it because it's a performance. That's exactly what my teams do. Is every single game they are entertaining the crowd, performing for them, trying to encourage them to yell for the teams and get excited for the teams, even if the game is kind of down. That's our job, that's our goal, that's what we want to do on the sidelines. And so for us, not only is it fun, but it's also a little bit of work. We have to really think ahead of time. Okay, the next timeout is coming for football, or when the next timeout comes, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And we've already prepared for this. We've already planned for this in practice. And so it's kind of gets to the point where it's just they know, and I can just, if maybe they've gotten a little tired or worn out, and so there's been a distance between cheers, I can just say, hey, do a cheer, help them continue to keep going. So on the sidelines, it's a lot of fun. It can be really hectic and crazy because things move fast. You have to think on your feet, you have to keep going, but it creates that environment of be aware, be there. And then also they get the advantage of learning the game. They get the advantage of learning, hey, we just got a touchdown. That means there's 6 points on the board. And, then they can kind of learn the ins and outs of what their friends do that are actually on the field playing the game. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I thought that one of my favorite things that we did this year in terms of the game day experience in the cheer and dance team was that we actually got you guys involved with the halftime of the marching band. How did that come about, Sara?
Yeah, so actually it was pregame, and the band director, Dr. Frederick, he had, when I was hired, had said, hey, look, the previous coach and I were already planning on doing this. Is that something you're interested in? And I am always interested in opportunities for my teams that will get them out in front of the alumni and the crowd and the students. And I said, yes, absolutely, let's do it. Because I came in, kind of late to the season. And I say late to the season because a normal cheer and dance season begins in May for the coming year, May, June-ish, somewhere around there, and then goes. And so normally they have all that time to prepare. So I came in August and didn't have a ton of time to create and mold and learn the skills that the teams had already mastered. So I had to really um, take time. And so we kind of like built that routine over several weeks as football was already going. If you go back and look at some of the video that you actually took of the team, the first week or two, we stopped halfway through the song and came off the field and let them finish. But then by the middle of the football season, we were on the field for that whole song. And it was a really cool experience because I think that the teams enjoyed having that. They don't get a lot of time during halftime to perform or create performances for halftime because each week is something different, and especially during events like homecoming where we are celebrating our alumni, they don't always get, there's not time within halftime for them to perform. So getting that game day performance in that regard, as well as just their sideline performance, is really exciting for them and exciting for me as a coach, but it definitely keeps us going.
So you talk about the normal prep time, and we're actually living in that time where normally, of course, we would be prepping for things like what
Right.
are we going to be doing new and fresh for the upcoming football season. So what do you do when we're in the middle of a pandemic and you can't, see your squad or to have the groups get together or anything? So how do we navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Luckily for us, what we can do is last year, I took the teams and created videos of all the cheers and chants and the band dances. They're nothing special, it's just the girls from last year during a practice that I videotaped. So thankfully, I have those and can say, hey, these are our cheers and chants. Will you please learn them while you're at home? And because they are in this like weird, some of them work, some of them don't, and now school's out, it gives them something to look forward to. It gives them something to do. And it actually is going to really benefit us because by the time we do get on campus, then instead of that time when we normally would be teaching all of these things, we can focus on things that we couldn't do when we're together, like creating timeouts with stunts and things of that nature. Or we can start moving forward to creating halftime performances for the dance team instead of having them go back and learn all these things that they would have missed.
I can remember when you were hired, Sarah, we were talking about initially just really wanting to make sure the fundamentals were really strong and just building that
Yeah.
forward. Now that we're heading into this upcoming season, what are some of the goals that you're kind of setting for yourself and for the squads?
So that's that's another excellent question. We have really kind of taken a step back and evaluated last year and decided, what things we want to keep and what things we want to change. And so one of the things that we are going to put into place moving forward is some really strong core values, things that we as a team, cheer and dance combined, believe in, who we want to be known for, and that is going to drive a lot of the decisions that we make going forward. I believe this is creating that foundation. Not only will it help them as athletes while they're on the field or court, but also in class and outside of the classroom and in life. Um, some of them I'll give you is like trust, teamwork, unity, determination. Those things are going to help us make decisions moving forward as to how we really navigate our year. And we didn't get that last year. So I think that this has been a really positive influence for them, and they seem to be really enjoying that aspect of it.
Sarah, I want to take you back to one of my favorite moments of last year. It's a basketball game in January. And I'll be honest with you, I know it's a men's basketball game. I can remember that. I don't know if we won. I don't know what the outcome of the game was, but that game will stand out to me because that was the game where we had some Special Olympians joining us and doing various things involved around the game and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I'll ever forget seeing how excited those kids were on the sidelines with your teams. Talk about that moment, what you remember from it.
So Yeah, we were asked to help with the local Special Olympics group, and I I honestly didn't know that we'd have that much participation because it was when the news came out that we were going to do this as an athletics department. It was kind of like, okay, there's going to be some that will want to help with the basketball team and some that will want to do this or that. And in the end, it ended up that us as the cheer and dance team had everybody. We had everybody on the side. And so our plan was really to teach them a few basic cheers that we know we always do that they could easily catch on to. And we did that. And the teams and the Special Olympics participants, I don't know. I don't know if it was just that I have a lot of girls who are going into education or that we had had experience with the mascot, but my teams just embraced these Special Olympics athletes and they embraced them back. And it just turned into like this magical, amazing game. And I think we lost that game sadly, and the only reason I remember that is because one of the girls from Special Olympics really wanted to meet the basketball players because it was her birthday, and I was a little nervous to ask Coach Thompson to bring him out of the locker room, but he made it happen. He made it happen. So it turned into this, I don't know, they were so fun to have on the sidelines. They were so engaged in the game. They sometimes would just stop and give the cheerleaders or the dancers a hug, like so unexpectedly just show love and care and concern. I mean, we will do it again. Like if the school gets that opportunity again, absolutely, we will be there and we will be engaged and work with the Special Olympics group again. It was just so fun. And the young man who wore the wasp costume that day, poor thing, it's so hot in that costume. And he, I think for maybe 10 minutes had the head on, and then he just was getting overheated and he took it off. But what I appreciated was that no one in the crowd, no one on my team belittled him or said anything negative because he could not wear that whole outfit. So he wore just the body and he cheered on the sidelines with everybody, and it was wonderful. It was a really wonderful experience.
And you mentioned it a second ago. I wanted to also ask you about our wasp, our actual mascot on the sidelines that we see. And people oftentimes may not know who's inside that costume, but I want to ask you about William, one of our colleagues that works with Sodexo that wanted to be the wasp, and just talk about what William means to you all as well, because the care that I see you and your team give to William is just amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. So when I came in, there was nobody for the WASP, and I was kind of trying to figure out how I could get somebody involved with that. And Anne came to me one day and said, "Hey, do you know William over in the cafeteria?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "Well, you go find him. Can we help him be his whole dream is to just be the wasp one day?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely. Like we could totally make that happen. One day, no big deal." Well, one day turned into the whole year. And it's because bless him, he tried so hard. He did so well. Like, I honestly was really surprised because it is hot and I don't know all of William's abilities. And I don't want to put someone in a position that's going to compromise their health and their safety and whatnot. And he took it all in stride and just did an amazing job. And every week after the first time when I'd see him in the cafeteria when I'd go to eat, he'd be like, "Hey, how's it going, Coach Sara? Are we gonna, when's the next game?" And he'd want me to make sure that Sam and Dave gave him the day off so that he could be there for the game. And I mean, he was always on time. He was always ready to go. He never complained. And the girls really took to him because he needed help. Like you can't see in
No,
that
I,
costume. And so
I,
I
I
have to
I've had that
What's
costume on,
that?
Sarah. You can't
Yeah.
see anything. It's
No.
first of all, it's not easy to move. Like you put on the big body,
Yeah.
and just trying to walk in a straight line is not an easy task.
No. And so I had to assign usually every week one girl to kind of like A, help him put the costume on and off, and B, kind of walk around with him and make sure that he didn't trip and fall. Now, there were still a few trip and falls because we don't always see those as well, but he never, ever, there was never, I don't want to do this anymore. It was, hey, when can I put the costume on next? And as much as he could, he would clap and cheer. Oh gosh, during football games was my favorite because I don't know if you know this about William, but he is way into sports. He loves sports. He goes to all the Patrick Henry games that he can. He goes to all of our games that he can, and he knows the players. He knows the statistics about the players. He knows who plays what position. I mean, he will talk, and he'll talk to you about it too. He'll say, hey, you think we're going to get this, and he'll follow them all the way through their championships and the end of their seasons. And so it was fun having him on the sidelines, because if he got your ear, he would tell you everything about number da 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 da, and what they had done in the past and what they did last game and what he wants to see them do this game and blah 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 blah. I mean, he really loves being in that environment.
He's one of the reasons I go to the cafeteria as much as I do, just to see William and say hi, because
I know.
he says hi to every person that almost is
Yeah.
in that cafeteria.
Yeah, he's just the sweetest thing. And I think that what we embraced about him was we have the cheerleaders and dancers clearly have a passion for encouraging and bringing the crowd to a positive place, and he has that same passion, and so it just meshed well, just meshed well.
Sarah, I also wanted to ask you about the competitive side of cheer and dance. Obviously, with the craziness of the spring, we didn't get a chance to do any of the competitions in either side. But how important is it for you to bring that back into our cheer and dance program?
It's really important. This is one of those things that those teams, they live for. They live for that opportunity to compete against their peers. It's an opportunity to not only prove yourself as an individual, that you can be at a competition and compete well and have a fighting chance at being in the top, but it's also teaches you a lot of things along the way, because you have to start preparing for it way beforehand. And for college cheerleading, it's a little bit different, or cheerleading and dance, I could say. It's a little bit different than in high school, because in high school, they have a lot of regional competitions. They start earlier in the year. They start in like November and December, where college doesn't start until February, January, March, somewhere, in the springtime. And a lot of that's because of the schedule that most teams hold, cheering for men's and women's basketball and football and things of that nature. So it's important for us to get back into it. It gives us a goal, it gives us an end to meet. It also, like I said, it teaches them along the way dedication, determination, because they have to come to practices in the fall to prepare for what's happening in the spring. We have to start earlier and move towards that goal, and hopefully, you end up on placing. That's the other thing, is it's a lot different than other teams where you can compete against one team and maybe not do very well, and then compete against another and do well. This one combines you all together in one competition, in one division, one place. You have one chance. That's it. You don't get any you don't get any second chances. It's one chance against 10 or 12 or more other teams, and you got to put it all out on the floor and hope that what you did to prepare for this and what you did while you were on the floor works, and that the judges see you and see what you've done, and that your performance lives up to their standards, or to what they're, I should say, they have certain aspects they judge on. But yeah, it's definitely an important part of us here at Emory and Henry. That's who we are. We're competitive cheer and dance. If you're on the cheer team, you're a competition cheerleader. You're on the dance team, you're a competition dancer. I don't do where, hey, you know, this many people aren't competing. If you're on the team, you're part of competition.
Well, you know what, I can tell you what, Sarah, I am ready for the fall. I'm ready to see the cheer and dance teams back on the sidelines. And I'm really excited to see what you have in store for us for the competitive season of 2020 and 21. So thanks so much for joining us on Coach's Corner.
Yes, thank you. We're really excited too. We cannot wait to get back together.